bit
I'll
later.
go off. All right.
G'day and welcome to On The Esky. We are back on Friday nights, baby. Friday night lights. We're currently watching the third session unfold over there in New Delhi. The Aussies haven't won there since 1959. A little thing called the Super Bowl happened this week. The Chiefs, world champions in a sport that's only played in America, essentially.
Breaking the curse.
For the second time in 3 years. The NBA is into the All-Star break. The Bucks are looking red hot, but how will their sort of March unfold if the Greek Freak is to miss time? The EPL, Man City's back on top. It was fun while it lasted. Arsenal, plus the Champions League round of 16 is underway. The final round, probably a brief one, but, you know, we need to whinge a little bit more about UFC 284. A few strong comments from a few people around the globe regarding the result of the Volkanovski-Makhachev fight, plus a little bit of rugby league. Only a few weeks off, boys will get stuck into some trial games, some World Club Challenge and some injuries. Please remember, we do have some timestamps. You can skip to the sports that you like on the YouTube. We do have that on the Spotify too. And please check us out on the socials. You can also get yourself some gear from the Carlton Draft with the code ESKY for 20% off. That is ESKY. Boys, we like to start the show by shouting a beer to commend something cool that's happened in the sporting arena in the last week. Sean, I'm going to chuck it over to you. Mm-hmm. And there's a goat back amongst us in the golf.
Yes. And that would be Tiger Woods. He's back at Genesis. So I'm not sure. He's been out for quite a while. He's basically using a cart to get around because of his back injuries. That's been his issue for a long time. But seems to be doing well. Hit 3 birdies, is currently 2 under, tied with a whole bunch of other people. So still sort of in the hunt. Hit 69.
Nice.
For his first card. But I think the interesting thing was there's a lot of pictures that after out driving Justin Thomas, he handed him a Tampax. So bit interesting whether that's a fake photo or not, but it definitely handed him something. And the eagle-eyed viewers have zoomed in and maybe caught him out with a bit of a cheeky joke there. Not 100% a PC joke, as you would. No. but definitely. But
do you think it's for real? Do you think it's for real?
I don't know. I've seen heaps of people posting it, so we'll see.
Hasn't lost his sense of humour.
No, not at all.
Monks, shout a beer this week?
Yes. Well, I suppose, one of the best things to have after a big night out is just to get back onto it. So I'm shouting Jalen Watson a beer this week, not for his spectacular efforts in the Super Bowl, making a combined 3 tackles, but for his efforts during Super Bowl celebrations afterwards. Mm-hmm. So obviously rookie this year, so I guess just glad to be amongst it, glad to win a Super Bowl in his first year. Partied a little bit too hard and ended up having to be carted home in a wheelchair. Definition of legless. So shouting him a beer.
Yeah, he probably doesn't need it at the moment, but I did see the picture. He had a Hennessy bottle and was drinking it straight from the bottle.
Yeah, that'll probably do it. Look, a beer's probably going to sober him up after drinking straight out of the Henny bottle.
Yeah,
exactly.
Look, if anyone is listening and has had the occasion slip away from them, you can come and have a chat with the bloke in the middle here, because it's happened once or twice before.
I think we've each done it at least once. It's part of growing up.
Yeah, part of growing
That's
up.
it.
Is winning a Super Bowl part of growing up? I don't know. Our occasion's probably less reason to celebrate, but enjoy your beer, courtesy of us.
What about
Jalen
you,
Watson? I would like to shout a beer to Ash Gardner, the Aussie female cricketer who has exploded onto the scene recently. She just got a massive payday, over $500,000 AUDs to go play in the inaugural Women's Premier League, the women's version of the IPL, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Going to be joining the Gujarat Titans. She was the second most expensive player taken in the WPL draft. And the girls are currently playing the T20 World Cup over in South Africa at the moment, and essentially should get through their group pretty much unscathed. So it's essentially going to come down to a semi-final between either England or India. Be very disappointed probably if the girls don't win the whole thing.
Yeah.
So enjoy a beer, Ash Gardner, maybe after the World Cup, courtesy of Peppy on the Esky, and enjoy that cash money from the inaugural WPL draft.
Yeah, that's a lot. Like that's
bad.
really impressive.
Not bad.
Maybe she should shout us a bill.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. I don't think it works like that on this show.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I think our bar tab's pretty high at this point, especially
Yeah,
with
yeah.
country that Jimmy likes
That's
to shout
right.
out.
Yeah, the population of the United States plus a few athletes thrown in there in between.
Yep.
Anyways,
Horses.
we also like to give out a mop of the week for
Mop behaviour.
mop behaviour. Yeah, unsanitary behaviour during the week. Sean, are you going to take us away with this one?
Yes, and I guess caveat first, don't sue us. We're just reporting on the news, not including it.
That's right.
But we're going to hand a mop out to, I guess, Brett Favre and Brett Favre's legal team with the news of the defamation suit that they're going to file and sue the likes of Pat McAfee, Shannon Sharp, and what was the other one?
The Mississippi State Auditor Shard White.
Yeah, it's of course stemming from the fact of the potential welfare fraud, so potential quotes.
Alleged
welfare fraud that Brett Favre's charity organisation that he runs that was involved in to the tune of potentially $77 million. So, yeah, they've gone after them saying that I've done nothing wrong and you've assassinated my character. So here's a $100 million defamation suit your way. So some pretty interesting kind of, I guess, takes. Of course, McAfee's got his own platform, and check him out on YouTube if you don't already, about the, his thoughts on it and his bank account. Probably not deep enough for that kind of money.
No.
But he said, come after us. We'd be happy to take it there. Do you have the quote there, Jimmy?
So I suppose during one of his podcasts in Media Week for the Super Bowl, he said, "A lot of my people are wondering how my lawyers are going to handle this. You know it, I ain't got them. So let's ride this effer. I'm excited. Let's see how it goes. I'll see you in court, pal."
Yeah, and then I think he made a comment about his bank account, and he was like, "What bank account?" I was like, "I don't know where this money, where you think this money's coming from." But it'll be an interesting kind of thing to see play out, especially with. And you throw Shannon Sharp in there, two of, say, the biggest NFL voices at the moment, with his show, of course, with Skip. So there's a lot of talent there talking about the NFL on a regular basis, what happens in that space.
My question out of this whole discussion is, palling someone the equivalent of champing them in Australia? If you say that over there in the States, that means business. Pal. Do you know what I mean? That is Pal is Aussie champ.
Yep.
Yep. No, I get what you mean there.
Guy.
Guy.
Is that Canadian?
That's South Park gear.
Yeah.
Guy.
I'm not your friend, guy. I'm not your guy, buddy.
The little heads that
Your
don't quite
buddy, dude.
don't quite talk the same as the other heads in that cartoon show.
They were frying Meghan and Harry this week on South Park. So
his book's out.
Yes,
Harry.
yeah. So South Park have been frying him a bit on that. So it'll be interesting.
Wanted to leave the royal family
for his privacy reasons.
Yeah, due to too much media input.
Yeah,
then releases Netflix show and book.
Yeah. Hates journalists. Writes a book on his history, which is basically making him a journalist. So yeah, funny.
Anyways.
South Park, check it out. Good gear.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's been running 25 years. It's uncancelable.
Yeah.
If that's a word. It will be.
It is now.
Yeah. Definitely tried, but yeah.
Oxford 2024 word of the year. Uncancelable. Don't ask me for the spelling. All right, monks. Let's talk some cricket. So Australia and India currently underway. The first day, the third session over there in New Delhi. Monk's asked the question pre-show, where is Old Delhi? I believe it's just Delhi and then there's New Delhi.
Like Mexico and New Mexico?
Yeah, Mexico. Wait, there's a New Mexico? Set me up there. New York apparently is, the new version of York in the north of England. Yeah. Et cetera, et cetera.
Same with New England and the lot.
All the news.
Yes. New Jersey.
We're surrounded by South Wales, the new version of it. Anyways.
Well, I suppose the difference between New Delhi and like New York is Delhi.
It's right next to it.
Yeah. It's like the same thing, kind of.
Maybe they're like, we fucked this one up. Let's just start again right next to it.
We might need to restart the intro. Welcome to On The Esky. We talk geography. So
bit of geography chat.
Anyway, they're in Delhi, looking a bit overcast, if you know what I mean.
Smog.
Yes.
Smog. Headline, India doctor the weather to make the ball suit their conditions.
So it swings.
As per Fox Sports. There was a lot of sort of speculation in the lead up to this test as to how the Aussies would line up.
Talk some teams?
Yeah, let's talk some teams. Obviously got pretty well spanked in Nagpur, an innings and 130-odd runs. Maybe we need to learn how to play spin. Maybe it was the lack of Travis Head being in the side. Travis Head comes back.
Gets 12.
Yeah, it didn't look that good, although poor Matty Renshaw didn't look that good.
0-2. So.
Yeah, that good in Nagpur. But I suppose the big selection talking point is the debut of Matt Kuhnemann. Now, our Indian listeners may not have heard of him. I reckon there's a few Aussie semi-casual cricket fans that have also not heard of Matt Kuhnemann. We go with 3 spinners.
Well, I think it was...
Someone predicted it?
Yeah, well, yes. I think it was... You got to thank our chatters there for pointing out the fact that Swepson was rushing home for the birth of his kid.
Yep.
And then Kuhnemann was getting flown over to replace him. And I guess poor Agar with his poor Sydney test has been overlooked completely. I guess the caveat of my 3-spinner chat last week was I thought Cameron Green would come into the side to cover for the extra pace. But of course, he seems like he's not quite ready yet. Same with Stark. They kind of both were at 80%. Maybe if they really had to push it, they probably could have played. But I think they've gone with the healthier options on this. So we'll see if – I think the toss for us also was really, really important. Winning that means that, hey, if we can get into day 2 today – 3 for our bowling in the first innings, then we should have better of the pitch conditions, which will suit the spinners more. And Cummins then doesn't have to bowl a fuckload of overs as the quick here. So I don't think they've got really another quick option, unfortunately, without Cameron Green.
Arnis might have to bowl some meds.
I
know he can bowl seam up. I don't know how effectively he can do it.
Well, didn't he bowled a couple in county cricket, didn't he? And he didn't take a bunch of wickets.
I saw him in county cricket. He's bowled a few for Queensland, but...
Yeah, but they're 120 kind of things. They're nothing.
Hey, bro, 120 is quick. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that for a few... not even talent blokes here talking about cricket on the Esky here. Cameron Green, he would have slotted into this side very well and been that second seam option.
Yeah, and then also offers a bit extra with the bat as well.
Indeed. Although, touch wood, Pete Handscomb, a.k.a. the footbrush, knocking him around there.
Yeah, well, add Cummins to that as well. Cummins he's got 250s. Doesn't have the greatest record.
He's not a slouch. He's not a slouch.
He's hit a few 50s in the IPL as well, so he's definitely scored runs in India, but nothing like Test cricket playing on, I guess, what's been termed the crack house of a pitch.
I thought that was downtown Detroit. And every other inner city in America. Apologies.
Allegedly.
Yes. No, blame the CIA for that. I think they showed up. They saw the pitch conditions. They probably thought, hey, we can get away with the 3 spinners. So, and hopefully they can get some turn and rip some, as we've seen from the Indian team here in the first innings against Australia. We were shedding a few tears at there at one point when we were 150 odd with 5 down. So Hanscom and Cummins have managed to get us over 200, and we might get the elusive 250.
250 is that magic number, baby. 250. On the Esky, Brendan Julian, elite analyst of the game.
We sent him a quick message to let him know.
Big BJ. His partner in crime is Alan Border there on the Fox coverage.
With a bit of Brett Lee.
Yeah, and a bit of Binger, like a bit of Binger. He's big in India. Alan Border had...
Actually, speaking of being in India, did you see Warner when they showed up and he had to have a full escort of police guard to get in through Delhi? Because
does not surprise me.
He's a big star over there, of course, playing in the IPL in Delhi for a very long time.
TikTok dances as well. That gets you a bit of...
Gets some views.
Yeah, notoriety.
Jimmy, you might need to break out the floss. Yeah.
TikTok. I can floss.
Yeah.
I can floss.
Can you twerk there?
I don't have the junk in the trunk, probably to be, make anyone interested in my twerking.
Squat rack's just there.
Squat rack. with these knees.
As we've discussed before, I've probably got the most cake on the table, so
it's a very delicate way of putting it, isn't it? We've had this discussion. It sort of builds as we go down from the viewers left to right.
Yes. Well, that's probably enough about our bats. I guess it was Indian team selections. They only made the one change.
Yep. So just Shreyas Iyer coming in for Suryakumar Yadav, the man they call Sky. We said it was not a head scratcher, but
he was hurt or something, wasn't he? There was a reason he was left out.
Can you chase that one up with Sky? We spoke about it last.
Iyer.
Yeah, Shreyas.
For him.
Before coming in.
He was looking for the name and the notes going, how the fuck am I supposed to spell this?
Come on, dude. It's like 6 letters. Come on. Wait till we play Sri Lanka again. Then you'll be really in trouble.
Yep.
So only the one change. Look, you don't change something if it ain't broke. They bat to 9, which is essentially what killed us last test.
They've got Daddy Jadeja in there, so...
should we talk about Daddy?
Yeah, we might as well.
Jadu, we spoke highly of his skills with the bat coming in wherever it might be, 6, 7, 8, averaging close to 50 in the last few years. But how about this? His talent with the ball in India. The last 3 series in India that Australia has played against Jadu, who currently has the rock, has 56 poles at an average of 17. He strikes in the mid-40s. He's pretty much our kryptonite at the moment, isn't he?
Hence we're referring to as our daddy at the moment.
I feel wrong saying that, don't I? But like respect's due. Jadu, I mean Dad.
He's got 1 wicket so far in this innings, and he's been close on a couple of other attempts.
Dadu. Well, he hasn't been the destroyer. It's been Ashwin. Ashwin so far.
I haven't seen much of Patel yet.
No.
So, maybe saving him for a little bit later.
Did we talk about Border?
If you want to...
Just briefly.
Talk about the old fella. Him and Biden, I guess, could be friends.
At least one doesn't have their finger on the nukes.
Yeah, true.
Nuke Steve Smith for giving thumbs up to reward good bowling that beat his outside edge. You're doomed if you do. You're doomed if you don't for the Aussie cricket team. Because it used to be, the Aussies, they sledge too much. They're aggressive. They swear too much, this and that. And now Smudge is out there, with his cute little smile and his face, which is meant to be 33 years old, but it looks like it's going on about 14, and gives the thumbs up when he gets beaten by the outside edge.
By good ball.
And Alan Border, I don't know if it's just the media just getting us to talk about something, but he doesn't like it.
Well, you covered it. It's the culture, and the team's culture has changed since the times of Alan Borders. So, that's probably what it was through the 80s, 90s, early noughties, and then it's kind of transitioned through the teens into this decade where, the team's kind of not like that anymore. And I guess it's probably because, these guys now socialise more with their opposition, essentially playing all the different T20 tournaments, travelling all over the world. They're in each other's pockets. Whereas I guess in the 90s, you kind of showing up on enemy turf. You haven't really had any, anything to do with the opposition, and you play a very hard test match, and then you go for beers and you socialise a little bit. So I think it's just it's a different time, different attitude to the team, and it's changed a lot in the last 10 years.
I think there's something to be said with like when you're out in the middle doing that, like you cop it on the chin, walk off, like don't give too much
fair bump play on.
Yeah, like don't give them the thumbs up. Like leave that till like after the innings or something. Like when you're shaking hands later on.
Well, it's kind of the way he is with his gestures.
Yeah,
and,
well, I get it.
His little
I get
kicks,
it.
essentially.
It also depends on.
I get that.
It depends on the sportsman. Like some people will play in opposition and absolutely hate their guts, like they're the worst people on the planet. And the other people will be like, "Well, I'm happy to here to compete, but I don't come with that." Say aggression or
I think it's kind of
hate
like
towards it.
It's kind of it's more mentality like rather than being frustrated with your own self not playing the right bat swing or whatever. It's like you're saying, you're giving up essentially. Like saying, that was a good ball. Like I got nothing for it. It's like I've got no answer for it. Whereas if you're frustrated with yourself and show your frustration with your own self, it's like you can do better. Like I can beat that next time. Yeah. But it's kind of like giving them a thumbs up. It's kind of like I give up. Like you bowl a good ball. I got nothing. I got no answer for you.
Yeah.
Like
and cricket.
I can understand like both sides of the story though. Like it's
But
you don't want to give too much away when you're standing in the middle.
True, but I can also see the competition point of it. Like, hey, you give the thumbs up, next ball comes down, you hit it for 4, and then you're like, there's one right back at you. You're like you're throwing punches back and forth in that analogy. But I think it depends on the person. Each person kind of plays. They play sport because they enjoy it and they play it differently. So. I know I very much never socialised with the opponents, and I always thought of, I guess I played defence for a lot of my sports. There was this like kill mentality. It was just like I'm trying to take your head off. That's where I'm coming from. So it was very different. But I can also understand if you played, so you say more on the offensive side of the ball, you're still trying to win and score points, but you maybe less trying to kill the opposition. As an example.
Are you referring to, in a cricket sense, the defence being like the fielding, the bowling team, whereas the sticks being the offensive side of the team?
I think for cricket, it could flip-flop. As in, like, hey, you may the fielding team might be on the defensive with the batters taking the ascendancy, but then it can also flip. Like your batsman may go in a shell and have to defend a lot because the bowling team being a lot more aggressive.
Yeah,
like take this morning with the Indian fast quicks, getting a lot of swing and then also a bit of chin music as well, throwing in a few bounces. Like they were the aggressor in that story, I guess, as that character. And the Australians really had to fight to kind of get themselves back into that. Hitting sixes, trying to take after the spinners to then change the field, and then they have become more of the aggressor. Even I say since they're kind of in top in this period of the game currently. Scoring runs at a decent click, getting to that mythical 250 that we want. So,
31 off at the moment.
So in cricket, I guess it ebbs and flows in the game. And I guess a lot of games do. It has the ebbs and flows of momentum. I guess in NFL, there's definitely clear break between defense, especially when we grew up watching the NFL, was about murdering the opposition. So.
But league and union, they're essentially the same as well.
Yeah. And
soccer, if you will.
Hanscom just hit foot brush, just got his 50.
Yeah, the foot brush. A little bit of speculation around him staying in the team too. Pretty handy player of spin, pretty good record in the subcontinent. Back in the test side for, I think 3 or 4 year hiatus. So good to see him get the half century. And can we get that elusive 250?
Yeah, because my thoughts were, if Green was coming to the side, it was probably.
I would have thought so. I would have thought so too.
Score 50 is very, very good with the floppy.
How good's the floppy?
Yeah.
Shout out Alan Border. Used to love batting in the floppy white.
We need. This is a good partnership. We need. None of our partnerships have turned into hundreds yet.
No.
And not like no one scored 100. Usman went close. So if we can get a decent score out of these two, that'd be good.
How about the smog there in Delhi? It obviously affected the ball early on. It was hooping both ways. You saw that first delivery of the test match from Shami.
It's been 3 feet left.
Oh, jeez, it swung. And then they only gave him six overs, and then the spinners come into it. I think the boys actually did pretty well. Usman very, affirmative in the way that he was playing, especially off his pads.
I think faced 21 balls or something before he got his first run.
And he looked plumb, didn't he? From that Mo Shami ball. Lucky
he hit it.
He on review. He smashed it. He was very confident to go bang. Shane Watson straight away. We'll have a look at that. But yeah, he just does not look very comfortable there in India. I think we were speaking pre-show about another Aussie great whose record is similar.
Yeah,
Ricky Ponting actually only averages about 2 or 3 more in India than David Warner. And then Uzi Khawaja, geez, you love the form that he's in. The Test Player of the Year for Australia last year, over 1,000 runs. He makes 81. We're going to talk about the reverse sweep and its role in Test cricket. He reverse sweeps and granted an excellent catch from KL Rahul. But there's another bloke that plays for England that got out in the same way. The Test cricket purists probably would have a bit of a stroke seeing a lot of these guys throwing their wicket away like that.
Do you think it's, because they're facing such a heavy spin attack in the Indians, that yes, you're going to use the sweep a lot. Do you think they've throwing in the reverse sweep, I guess, for a bit of a change-up, and so they're not always just sweep.
It opens up the field. It makes the opposing captain have to reset the field.
But a lot of risk, I get.
Yeah.
Oh, well, sweep is risky enough as it is. You got to be playing really well, getting it off your pads and clearing your pads, getting the ball away, and then throwing the extra difficulty of the reverse.
And credit to KL Rahul. If that ball's hit another 2 feet to his right...
6 inches, bro, like bugger all.
That races away for 4, and everyone's talking about Usman, being on 85 and approaching the nervous 90s. So it's an interesting one. Obviously, the older generation that follows Test cricket would probably have their hearts in their mouth every time they play that shot. But maybe it's the impact of T20 cricket, on this sport that we love just in general.
Some final points to finish off where we're on the tests. What do you think of the pitch?
It looked very cracked for a day one pitch. It was interesting. It was only cracked around, both batting ends. The middle looked nice and green.
Yep,
it still looks like that.
I think within an over, they had foot marks already starting to break out. Like you see it crumbling very quickly.
I think Matthew Hayden did the pitch report, from our coverage and said it looked like a day 3 wicket over there. But look, it's holding up okay, and like we said earlier, it's a great toss to win. Toss to win.
I think that's 10 from 11 for Pat Cummins as well.
I was shoddy Pat Cummins as my partner for 2-up on Anzac Day because the bloke can pick the side of the coin. Marnus and Smudge, our best 2 sticks, batting 3 and 4, copped an absolute masterclass from Ravi Ashwin. Yep. Essentially, the ball pitches in the same spot. And they both struggled to pick up the variation from Ravi. Marnus gets one that rips back in, gets him LBW. They go upstairs, and it turns out it's three quarters of the way up middle stump. Yep. And then Smudge gets one, hasn't gotten off the mark, and it's just, I don't know if it's a little bit more sidearm or what he does. If it's the pinky that gets it to just skid on.
Or a bit off the pitch, just the way it lands. The natural variation, as you will, and it just slides on.
Oh, dude, credit to Ravi Ashwin for being able to set up the two of the 3 best Test batsmen in the world right now, just with that unpickable variation to send them both packing.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the concerns, and that's maybe the concern with this partnership if one goes down, is, again, bunches. So, they got the wicket of loose bus change, and then Smith was out within 2 balls. And then who was it? Was it
Head and Carey?
Not
long after.
Yeah, it's like within an over of each other as well. So they talk about that. You get bunches in India. Once it starts flowing, it can, because it's very hard to get in, I guess, playing in India because you're playing with all that variation we're talking about.
And Carey.
collation.
within a run.
Yeah, so it can be quite difficult, but once you get in, that's probably the main thing. It's very hard to get you out. We saw that with Rohit Sharma in the first test, and
Jadu and Patel down the order.
Exactly. Once you kind of get your eye in and can pick up what's happening on the pitch with the ball coming off it, then you can score some runs. So hopefully, where we currently are. Did I say a 2 for 222?
I did see a Richie. I saw a Richie out there. It was a 6 for. I wish it was 2. But.
So we'll see if these two can then push on to 250, and then hopefully the others can throw in a few extra. And maybe we get
300. Geez, 300 would be nice.
Yeah, it would be. These guys look on. It's another hour. They started early in this, so how long are they going to play for?
So they start at 3 p.m. our time, so I think it finishes
it's 9:30 though. It was in Delhi. They started early.
Yeah, 9:30 Delhi.
But I guess they just finish early in their afternoon, but they finish at 10 for us. Yeah.
Is it 10 or is it 9:30 for us?
Maybe it's 9:30, and the later days become 10.
I know in Delhi as well. It's they deal in half hours as well, so so the time difference ends up being 4.5 or 5.5 or whatever.
So let's say maybe there's about another hour of play, and see where we are by then. And I guess that's probably it. The third test got moved.
Yeah, so Dharamshala, one of the most picturesque grounds in the world. I looked up the weather, and it's not that
just can't grow the grass, maybe.
Yeah, so it's like 10 to 22 degrees Celsius throughout the day, which is essentially a hot summer's day in England. Yeah.
Yes,
it's been moved. Monks, if you wouldn't mind chasing up the story around that. I'm upset as a fan of natural settings and
back to the geography chat.
Yeah, we'll get into England and New Zealand in just a second, but it's. If it's not the most picturesque ground in the world, Cape Town maybe says hi. It's unreal. But yeah, I don't know. They're having some trouble getting their pitches ready to doctor against the Australians. To get ready for Test cricket.
It's potential. They could have just been rock hard, and they couldn't get them to grow or dry out. Maybe
it's too flat. The Aussies score 500.
Exactly. It's too flat. And it's not breaking up enough.
So where have they picked? Have they announced the next venue?
They did. I saw a venue. Let's see if Jimmy can speed read is the question.
Jeez, I can barely read.
HBCA?
He's missing his Harry Potter glasses this week.
Todd Murphy glasses?
Yes, his Todd Murphy glasses, yes.
That was another thing that Alan Border said, is that Todd Murphy shouldn't play this second test. Stiff. I thought Scott Boland was stiff, but... That's double stiff if Todd Murphy misses out. Do you know he kicked 110 goals or something as an Aussie rules footballer in under 14s?
Yeah.
As Paddy Cummins seems to have schnicked up to Dadu. Dadu.
That's one because I think he gets a little bit of drift and it comes straight through.
You have to review that, surely.
Yeah. He's a tall man, but it looks... at the knee roll, and if he's hit it, I think Coley's actually done a bit better in the slips. So I think he took that one as well. He's
taken some good catches. Oh, we didn't mention before, Coley is now at 37 test innings without a ton.
Yes.
Obviously broke the hoodoo in white ball cricket, but he's going on three years, I think, without a test century.
Let's see this one. Again, it just kind of slides on.
There's no bat.
That's below the knee roll.
There's no bat. I think
you never know. But
I think this is going.
It looks very close. Maybe a slight snick, but I don't think it matters. Coley's still nothing. She's quiet.
Well, yeah, bat fucks us.
Yeah. Coley took it, so which was a good take to his right.
Come on.
Oh, it's not Coley. It would be... No, maybe it was Coley.
That's Coley. Go over.
Plum.
She's going skis.
Yeah, it's Plum as he goes.
All right, back to 250. 250 would be nice. 250.
Well, the Queenslander's coming out.
Is Kuhneman coming out?
It looks that way. It looked like he was putting the pads on. Done. Unlucky Cummins. Good 30, though.
Yeah, very handy. Very handy.
Third high scorer for us.
And we're talking about it in the last pod. Like, how do you go out and bat in these conditions? Do you try and take on the bowlers and swing hard, and that's what Pat Cummins did, and hit a few early sixes, and then they start having to adjust to that kind of aggressive attitude. But very handy 33 there from the skip. In indoor, Indoor? Oh, it's going to be indoor cricket. Indoor cricket. 8v8, couple of nets, got to play straight. I have never heard of that place. If any of our Indian listeners want to help us out there.
Yeah.
INDORE.
Holcar Stadium.
Where's it near? Get it out.
More
Google Maps.
More geography chat.
Jeez.
Right?
Yeah, right.
So was it the Queenslander coming out? Or is that Todd Murphy?
Todd Murphy.
That looks like
That's Todd Murphy.
Glasses, dead giveaway.
Looks nice.
It's the most populous city in Madhya Pradesh. I've never heard of that place. There'd be so many places in India that have hosted Test cricket. Have you guys ever seen the list of venues that have had Test cricket before? And like you can sort it by country. So it's like, a little bit of Australia, a little tiny little bit of Bangladesh, and then you sort of keep coming down.
We've got like 6 grounds, rinse and repeat.
There's a bit of England, and then you get to India, and it's like, like it's fucking that many.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this one? Bit of drift and it just slides on?
Yeah, it's good.
Played for spin, no spin?
He played for spin. Played for spin.
There's only 2 international tests at this ground.
Nothing in 4 years.
So going into the 3rd test match.
Oh, they did play a one-day there recently, as of 3 weeks ago.
Yep. NZ.
Speaking of NZ, that's a great little segue into
Very
England
nice.
and New Zealand. They're playing a pink ball test over there at the Bay Oval. 3rd ever test match at Mount Maunganui. I hope I'm saying that right. I think it's Taronga, essentially, in the Bay of Plenty there on the north coast of the North Island. Poor New Zealand, they've been smashed by a cyclone, which is a little bit...
And earthquake.
Yeah, they've sort of been through the ringer. I didn't actually even know that New Zealand copped the odd cyclone. So hopefully...
Yeah, well, usually it goes over the more, I guess, north, the tropical islands.
Yeah,
and
Fiji
then hits,
and that.
And then hits North Queensland.
Yeah.
And we've got an expected cyclone up there in the coming weeks as well. So, yeah.
All the
Not
best, with the clean up and the rest of it, but it doesn't seem to have affected the Test cricket over there. We were talking about the smog before in New Delhi, which seems to have lifted by now, and picturesque grounds.
That's a fucking seed.
Oh, Jadu.
He's so good.
Dadu.
Oh, poor Todd Murphy out for a duck.
Harry Potter cannot play that ball.
After
Harry Potter must go back to the sheds.
how many left-handers do we have on our squad?
I
guess that's
does Kuhneman bat left-handed? Because I know he bowls left-handed.
Look at this one. Bam.
Oh, that's unplayable.
Yeah.
He knows.
All right. 250 might be a bit of an ask.
Yeah, I'm happy we got past 200.
yeah. Also very true considering where we were at 150, 160 odd. Let's hope the Queensland and Kuhneman can come out and turn up for us. Jeez, that turned.
Handy little debut. Take 30. To be honest. So this pink ball test over there in Tauranga, it's Bazball against his old nation, and they went out and they played the Bazball. They were hitting it at about 5.5 and over.
What do we get?
Oh,
with only 14, I guess. Yeah, Brooke and Duckett.
Ben Duckett, he went out and he hit 14 fours, striking at 123. They may have found the opener that they've been searching for. Probably, look, the only criticism has gotten out 3 times over 75 without being able to turn up, but I think that's to the game plan. Just go out and get on top early. A bloke that we do need to talk about, he's a problem. Harry Brook.
Yeah, they found someone there as well.
Oh, dude, we've seen him a little bit in white ball cricket. I think he's played 7 test innings now. He's 23 years of age. He has 3 tons, and he was 11 runs off making that 4 tons. He's very, very, very good at at batting, and that middle order with Stokes coming in, and if Joe Root can find some form, we'll talk about him in a second, they're going to be a problem.
Yeah, but do you remember that conversation we were having about England and when I guess Root stepped down from his captain and Stokes kind of stood up, and the aging of the fast bowlers, etc. And we said, they'll probably take 6 months. They're going to go find a bunch of guys. There's going to be a bit of turnover. They've got some key pieces there, but they find a few bits to then go with the rest of it. And they're going to be a really good side. I'm just disappointed it was only 6 months. I would have preferred if it took them a couple of years to find these blokes.
Me too.
Especially
well, 12 months to get us through the Ashes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, coming into the Ashes in the not too distant future, it's a worry.
And you talk about those aging quicks, they're still pretty fucking good.
Mm-hmm. What was the stat Jimmy Anderson's about to take over Warnie?
He's 30 behind, and you think if he plays another 9 months, he's going to overtake SK Warne, which is pretty wild. The fact that he's bowling quick in Test cricket,
well, he's
at 40 years of age.
Yeah, he's been playing 20 years in the England squad.
Is testament to his body holding up.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Root, like we mentioned, succumbed to the reverse sweep, much like Usman Khawaja, much to the dismay of the older population around us. A few rolling in their grave probably too.
Yeah, it's just
really just spoon-fed one to third slip. We spoke very highly of his 2022, but he's gone cold. The back end of 2022 into 2023, he's averaging 18 from his last 10 innings.
I guess, was it subcontinent he scored most of those?
He was killing it. And it's only in the last 10 innings. I don't know if it's going to bother them too much, considering the way that they started, at least with the ball, had New Zealand in all kinds of trouble at 5 for 83, and enter Tom Blundell, who goes out and knocks it around with a tail, makes 138, batting 7. That could be a game-winning
Scroll
knock.
Up there a little bit, Jimmy. And Conway got 77.
And Conway chips in. But
look at that. 1, 6, 4, 27, 0, 7, 20, 10, 3. It was like, yeah.
Dude.
Did a job.
Anderson, Broad and Robinson had that top order on toast. They declared actually at 9 for 325 late on day one, I suppose, to protect Jimmy Anderson from getting the quicks trying to take his head off. And then they went out, and that pink ball was hooping, absolutely hooping in that
pink ball that swings. Give it to the England.
Beautiful New Zealand, North Island air, and it was really, really scary. I think the last over from, I think it was Jimmy bowling on day one. I think they had 5 slips, 2 leg slips, 2 short legs. It was.
Yeah. Don't give a fuck about those runs.
Oh, it was crowd the bat, get in their head kind of gear.
Yeah.
I wanted to point out Broad as well. I think he's 6th or 7th on that all-time wickets list as well, which is crazy. I think he started 4 years later than Jimmy Anderson did, but he's also been around, unfortunately, for a very long time and taking wickets.
Yeah, he's 36, I think, and he's sort of creeping up as well. The bloke that the Australian public loves to hate for... probably good reason. Yeah, headbands.
The only reason I bring it up is for a little bit of Ashes chat. Do you think Jofra Archer comes into this side at all?
Yeah, Jofra came back into their white ball squad. We may have alluded to it last podcast. So it seems his body is good to go. It might be a horses for courses kind of approach.
True.
Does Jack Leach warrant selection over there, depending on the grounds and green tops? They could very well go 4 or 5 quicks because they've got guys that could bat 7.
Yeah,
Chris Wokes comes to mind.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting.
I guess if you want any rank turners, you can always throw it to Joe Root. So
that is true. Maybe that's the way he gets back the faith of the English public is just bowling
some rank turners.
Rank turners.
These balls are hooping.
Yeah, this is scary stuff. 250. Let's go, 250.
Let's get to 250.
Monks is chasing up. Monks is chasing up that Broad stat.
Just go. I looked it up. It's total wicket takers. and then he had it there.
There you go.
There we go. So he's
and
1, 2, 3,
he's
4,
fifth.
5, but he's a fair way behind Kumble. Quick maths, 33 plus 19 is 52. So he's still 52 poles behind Anil Kumble.
Actually, I remember why I felt devastated. It was because he was ahead of McGrath. So,
That'll do it.
yeah,
See the difference in test matches?
I did.
36 more.
Yes.
36 more from Stuart Broad. Obviously, Aussies here maybe have vested interest in Glenn McGrath.
yes, a bit of a bias. What do you got there?
So Test cricket only. Anderson's well ahead of Warney at the moment.
Yeah.
How do you figure that?
Yeah.
That's bowlers with the most wickets bowled. So he's taken more bowled than Shane Warne.
Yes.
I had it filtered on the wrong one. There you go.
Yes.
I was wondering why that looked weird.
Okay. Actually,
How did that come up?
can you just flick back to the other stats first, Jimmy? No, the other one. Because when I was looking at this, if you look at the averages, there's no one that hits an average under 20 on this. But what's impressive, the two guys who are closest were Ambrose and Marshall for West Indies. Like that period of West Indies cricket, it's still there on the record books.
This year of West Indies cricket would love an Ambrose and a Marshall.
Yeah.
Can you keep scrolling down and see where Pat Cummins comes into the equation? Because I think he's averaging 21.
Don't think he was on this list.
This might be over 300. Can you please Google Pat Cummins?
Yeah. He's not on
test
There he
average.
is. There you go.
21.41. So
Close.
if he's to continue on the way that he's going, we can start talking about him in the same breath as the likes of Ambrose and Marshall and guys that have taken bulk polls under 22.
Mm-hmm.
That might do us for cricket. Yes. We'll do the old Esky segue into something that's very Commonwealth, very England, India, Australia, into our US brothers and the biggest event in sports, some might say.
He broke his ankles.
The Kansas City Chiefs have beaten the Philadelphia Eagles 38-35 in arguably one of the better Super Bowls in recent memory.
A lot of back and forth.
A lot of back and forth, high scoring. The neutral viewer must have really appreciated the show that these guys put on.
That's it. Forget about what I said last week about defenses with championships.
Well, all of us were kind of like that. Well, we're saying often it's lower scoring in the Super Bowl. Often the better defense gets a win, and this kind of went against the rhetoric. The rhetoric was also that the last 9 MVPs haven't won the Super Bowl. So history books are made to be broken or rewritten, or however I fucked up that quote.
We finished up with a 38-35 game with Kansas City winning it with a field goal with 7 seconds to go. But if we run it through the first half, very much Eagles. I think you've got there a lot of great catches from all the receiving calls, and O-line's dominant. Was there a sack in this game?
It was late. I think there was
0 for the against the Chiefs O-line. The O-line kept Patty Mahomes clean.
Which was
whole
the
game.
question. We thought that might have been the difference, was that defensive line for the Eagles.
There was 2 sacks by the Chiefs.
Both by the Chiefs. So they kept the Eagles, whose pass rush has been ridiculous this whole season, kept them without a sack. And that probably was the difference.
Yeah, and for both teams, there's running lanes on both sides as well. So there was plenty of ball being moved around.
The pick for pick 6?
Fumble recovery for a touchdown, which was actually really important to keep the Chiefs in the hunt in this game.
Yeah, because it could have gotten away.
Yeah, they could have been going into the half down by 17. So 17? Yeah, 17. But overall, some stats, I guess. Philly, Hurt scored first. He got 3 touchdowns in this game. He scored 1. Yeah. I guess once they get, I think you said it last week, once they get inside the 5, and I mentioned it pre-post, the tush push, they'll get Jalen Hurts in that end zone.
The tush push that Sean is referring to is the quarterback sneak that they've essentially developed
a rugby squad
with 2 guys behind that are going to push a guy who is maybe the most physically gifted quarterback of all time through that 4th and 1 situation, and they did it with ease in this game.
So I had thought for a long time the rule was you couldn't assist the runner, but my understanding is the NFL changed that in 07 and the NCAA changed it in 2013, which is why we probably played under the old rule for quite a while.
Yeah, but I feel like I've seen that being called before.
Yeah. But I've also seen, when Philip Lindsay was on Denver, the O-lineman picking him up and throwing him in the end zone.
Yeah, perhaps that's different.
Yeah, but that was fair. Like that was fair game. They didn't penalise him for that. So
that might have been the Lord of the Rings rule, where Aragorn picks up Gimli and tosses him like a dwarf.
yeah.
Shout out to any Lord of the Rings fans out there.
But there's already been some chat about some of the more prominent offensive coaches saying they're just going to run that to death next year.
I think they had the most 4th down conversions this season of all time.
Yeah, and the percentage was ridiculous. It was about double of anyone else. So they've created a perfect kind of play there, and they've rode it out for a lot of it. And they converted a whole bunch of 4th downs in this. They did kick one punt, which ended up being returned for a very long distance, which maybe they could have gone for it. But
that's from Sipos, the Aussie as well, former St Kilda Saint.
Unfortunate day for the Aussies.
Jordan Mailata.
Because they both played on the Eagles. So, yes.
How about AJ Brown? He's so good. He's been an absolute weapon for the Eagles. He catches that 45-yard touchdown bomb early in the second quarter, and he just read it better than the defenders, didn't he?
Yep. Yeah, and adjusted the ball better, used his size and got up there and got it. They kind of looked like they were getting ahead. The Eagles had the momentum, and then this is where that fumble comes into it. Nick Bolton picks up the fumble and runs it back for a touchdown. And he almost had a second one in the second half.
Yeah, which went back on.
Called back, yeah.
What was
it? Incomplete because bang play essentially.
Okay.
There was a few, questionable calls throughout this. That was pretty close to being a catch, but he didn't have, the football movement. So
we might have to talk about questionable holding, defensive holding in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. You know what the turning point could have been? And I noticed this when it was happening. Mm-hmm. NFL is scripted, as per last discussion. The earth is flat, etc., etc. What colour were the platforms that Rihanna and her dancers were on?
White.
And
the ones that were in the air were white.
And
the ones on the ground were red.
So
she was wearing red.
Also,
red
she
and
was
white.
wearing red.
Illuminati confirmed. Goodell has been sending balloons to spy on America.
Philadelphia Eagles.
There's been a lot of chat about the Chiefs even going back to the regular season, getting a little bit of extra support from the referees to maintain that first seed. I think it comes with the territory of being good. You get those lucky calls a bit more.
You get criticism that's maybe not warranted either.
Yeah, I get that holding call though. Ticky tacky. Like I know
that wasn't hold. That was
I know Bradbury owned it and was like, yes, I did grab him. I thought they would let it go, like they let it slide, and I could see why, because it wasn't really a huge grab and the ball was overthrown by 5 yards.
So one, uncatchable ball, and two, a hand on is okay. The jersey there has to be stretch on it.
And it was a tiny tug, if that. So there was no way Juju was getting to that ball. So,
no chance.
But they get that call, and that rides them down there to then convert and get the field goal to win the game. It was interesting that Tony scored and Moore scored off the exact same play. Yeah.
Same play.
They buggered up the formation for Moore's one, and they mic'd up for Mahomes is pretty good, because he's just like, bucket, just run it. He's just like, you just do this and we'll sort it out later. So
it's pretty hard to stop that as well. Yeah. If you've got a really quick receiver motioning to the inside, they can drag, they can crack block. But then if they're just going to turn around and run the other way, there was no one within QE of either of them.
Yeah, and I think it showed after they scored the first one, they had some of the coaches on the sideline, again, mic'd up with working their way through that play. It's like, hey, they've got no one back. They're playing up too much. There's no one sliding over to pick up that person. We've got this all day, and they scored 2 touchdowns off it. So credit Chiefs and their offensive prowess and their planning there, that they could use the same play twice and really picked a weakness in the Philadelphia Eagles defense to score touchdowns and really get themselves back in this game after being behind at halftime.
There's so many weapons that you've got to account for as the defensive side in an Andy Reid run offense. Like they could have Kels in there and it's just a little shovel pass and he's walking in for 2 yards. They can hand it off to Isaiah Pacheco, who you haven't spoken about, who did find the end zone and it's been unbelievable.
Busted off some big runs as well.
Oh, he's been unbelievable. He's a 7th round pick, was he not?
Mm-hmm. Very late. It might have even been somewhere between 5 and 7. So he was
been spoken about this year, and they lost Tyreek Hill, and they don't have that elite receiving talent. But when you've got a guy called Patrick Mahomes, getting the ball under center and just finding whoever. It could have been Marquez Valdez-Scantling who was the Super Bowl hero. It's Sky Moore and it's Kadarius Toney. These guys aren't big names in the world of NFL receivers.
Well, you look at who scored for who contributed and scored in the Chiefs. It was spread out across the board. So
indeed,
Mahomes did an excellent job. And I think, again, back to that offensive, Andy Reid, like when does he enter GOAT chat for coaching and gets up there with Belichick? Probably needs a few more Super Bowls, but as an offensive mind, like if Belichick's the GOAT on defense for the teams he's put together, Andy Reid should probably be in the conversation as for offense because he's been doing an excellent job there for a very long time.
And there's also a little bit of sort of prove it for Andy Reid because former Philadelphia head coach for so long, went to the Super Bowl.
I got one win with them,
and won with them, and it's like I think so. We talk about Jadu and Dadu, and is it like Daddy's gone to another team and he's gone and now he's got 2 Super Bowls.
Yep.
There's no reason that Patrick Mahomes under Andy Reid, they could be the next dynasty.
Yeah.
They really could be.
Yeah, well, you look at Mahomes' stats. If he can keep this trajectory going, like he can then have comparable resume to the current GOAT, Tom Brady.
What's he done? He's 5 years into his NFL career. He's been to the AFC Championship all five times. He's been to the Super Bowl three times, and he's won 2.
2 with 2 Super Bowl MVPs and then 2 MVPs as well.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. It's a good resume that Kermit's putting together. So,
Miss Piggy.
Yeah.
Miss Piggy. Bit of Kermit the Frog chat. Aussie fans may not have fully appreciated Jake McKinnon taking that slide at the 1 yard line. Tactically, the right thing to do. You got to manage the clock. You got to kill the clock and kick the field goal to win the game. What are our thoughts? Obviously, we kind of understand the game. That's probably the right thing to do. How would you explain that to the Australian listener that possibly doesn't comprehend, not scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl because of the importance that it takes on your team winning the game?
Yeah, well, if he scores there's a minute left. And there has been games where the lead changes 3 times in that minute.
Yeah.
Like
it happened in a Super Bowl, didn't it? When I feel like it might have been one of the Giants ones. When
maybe even one of the Tom Brady ones. Like
I was going to say, Tom Brady says hello.
Yeah, and they do it. Those guys. You give them a minute. That's plenty of time to get into potential scoring range, especially when you've the defense is trying to play more prevent, and you've got more running lanes. It's like it opens the field up more, which can then lead to, the AJ Browns of the world. Laying a fend down, breaking a tackle, and going the distance. So, yeah, it's the right call to, I guess, manage the clock, get it down to 0. In this case, 7 seconds. They kick the field goal, leaves 2 seconds on. They can do the kickoff, and I guess it's really special teams. They have to throw it around and hope for the best, which in this case ended up nothing. So, it really takes away from, arguably, could have been the MVP this year. Jalen Hurts' hands. Could have potentially been the MVP in this game in a losing team with the job that he did as well. Don't put the ball in their hands, essentially.
Yeah. It's management.
Yeah. What'd you find there, Jimmy?
Give me me for more minutes.
Nothing.
So
Did-
searching the wiki.
Did you bring? Can you put up that penalty on Bradbury stuff? that I saw, Brad?
There wasn't really any videos on it.
What were the notes though? Was my question.
Oh.
Did
It
you?
was,
Close it?
to me, it was
Oh, don't worry. If you close it, don't worry.
It was uncatchable, and there was hands on, and there wasn't much of a pull.
Yeah, and
So if Philly fans want to be dirty about something, maybe you can be dirty about that.
yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
guess Chiefs again getting the green going their way. I guess the luck.
The
on
rub
their
of the
side.
green.
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
like it's,
See, to me, there's not much in that.
Yeah.
he's got a hand on a hip. Doesn't look like he grabs too much.
No.
Ball sails like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you
Not
go
a huge
back
fan.
to Bolton almost getting that second fumble, like that hit contact. Like you could easily have argued that he caught the ball as well. Yeah. I think that's it.
and it was
Like,
fourth down as well. Like that's
It's massive. Massive.
a huge call.
Yeah, could have been the turning point.
Mm-hmm.
As a neutral, we all kind of spoke about it last week when we were breaking down the preview of this game. Don't really have a dog in the fight. How did you feel about this as a neutral viewer? Was it one of the better Super Bowls in recent memory?
Yeah, I think so. It was definitely good. There's a lot of storylines, the Kelsey brothers as well. It was a big storyline. So
What did Jason Kelsey say to Travis when he saw him?
fuck you, congrats.
Yeah, that's it. Fuck you, congrats. I feel like if my brother won a Super Bowl, which is probably never going to happen.
Over you as well, which probably never going to happen.
The
You'd
Super Bowl
probably never talk to him again.
the Super Bowl in the backyard. No, I would, but I think I would say something along the lines of "fuck you, congrats." That's one of the great quotes, isn't it?
Yeah. So overall, I think it was an excellent Super Bowl. Rihannon's performance, I think she's like 3 or 4 months pregnant as well, was pretty impressive.
First time in 4 years or something that she'd perform live. So
Yes.
so good to see
Yeah.
Rihanna back out there.
I
Great girl Riri.
Yeah, I might have been asking for too much for maybe some wardrobe changes, a few extra guest appearances like you've seen in the past, but
hard to beat last year.
yeah,
Hard to beat Janet Jackson.
yeah.
Sorry, did I say that? Yeah, last year, like, who do we have? Eminem, Kendrick, Snoop. Dre was out there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That might be one of the all-time greats halftime show.
Some of the other recent ones as well, like Will.i.am, and that they bring out other guests and things like have a collab and like it's a big moment, etc. But
I thought Jay-Z was going to come out for a little bar here or there, but didn't happen.
But
You see, one of the dancers nearly fell off one of them things. They weren't. I thought they must have all been on.
well, I know she was.
on guide ropes, but no, I don't think the dancers were.
Wow.
That's fucking.
Didn't they have
sketchy.
anchor on the floor?
No,
And
Rihanna
they're all
did.
attached
So she
from behind?
had one on her
I saw
back
that
and
she
she
was.
was attached.
The dancers did.
Obviously, good reasons why
Yeah.
being pregnant. Because when she came down, you could see one
Also
of the dancers
being
break
a
off and then undo it.
multi-million-dollar record
Yeah, true.
artist.
The insurance.
Yeah, that's the big claim if she falls off.
Yeah, one of these dancers on $14 an hour. We can
Yeah.
live with
we
one.
can get rid of the Chris Pappases. They're not needed.
Friend of the show, Chris.
Yeah,
What were we talking about? Oh, one of the best Super Bowls of all time.
yeah. Overall,
I
it's
think.
great.
Yeah, I think so.
And probably credit Greg Olson as well. He did pretty well on commentary. Looks like he might end up taking a pay cut in the back seat with Tom Brady joining the network next year.
Wrap it up for the year.
Final from the NFL. Both Eagles coordinators ended up getting coaching gigs. So I think, did the DC go to the Colts and the OC go to Cards? I feel like that's how it happened. But
We were wondering last week, would the Cardinals be able to find a head coach? Monks would be able to chase that up,
they
but
just had to wait just a little bit longer. Wait until after the Super Bowl, and they got the 2 Eagles guys signing up, and that's every coaching job. Head coaching job sorted. Coordinators, of course, still filling out. And what was the other rumours? Hopkins on the trade block. Derek Carr got released, so he's free.
it's officially gone.
He's free, and Jalen Hurts, I think, is off contract, and or looking for an extension. So, 45 mil chat his way, north of that potentially. So that was probably the only other bits and pieces after the Super Bowl.
It's a long off season, isn't it?
Well, month to free agency,
Draft.
combine in 2 weeks. Draft is then
It's mid-April normally.
mid-April, so 2 months.
I don't-
And then there's a big break before camp and footy again in September.
Might have to work the draft this year. Haven't worked Mondays though. I was saying to you in the car, I don't think I'm ever working a Super Bowl Monday ever again, unless we're working as like analysts or something.
Yeah. That's it.
That'll wrap us up.
Yeah,
Think
that's football.
Let's talk some NBA, baby.
Curry sets, fires, puts it up. Bang!
Do you know they scheduled 2 games on Super Bowl Sunday? Why not just have the night off?
Oh, Jesus.
What happened? I don't know.
I mean, it depends on what games we're playing.
It was Celtics Grizz, interesting.
Yeah.
Raptors Pistons.
Yeah, that was probably the reason. It's like, hey, let's get some games out of the way that no one's going to watch.
Had the Sacramento Kings been playing and shining that beam, I would have tuned out. Sorry, Rihanna. Darren Fox is putting up 30 and was
What's this one?
shining the beam.
Seed to line, unfortunately.
Unplayable. Let's talk about the East briefly. So not a lot has happened really. Short turnaround between podcasts, Sunday to Friday. Jason Tatum is very, very good at basketball.
Well, I guess the only things we've kind of seen is, sorry to interrupt you, is all the trades have gone down. The guys in the new teams actually playing their first games with their new clubs. So I guess the big one probably Lakers, but we'll save that and get to that in a minute. But yes, Jason Tatum, very good at basketball.
He scored 24 in the third quarter against the Pistons. He's 4th all time in 35-point games for the Celtics. Not bad considering he's 24. Averaging 30 and a half.
How old's Embiid?
I feel like he's like late 20s.
Okay. He just got to 10,000 as well during the week.
Maybe he's like 27, which is scary. Big JoJo. We can talk about the 76ers. He's 2nd in the NBA with 33 points per game. He has said that he is maybe for the All-Stars. He's been dealing with this left foot injury. He literally said, I'm not healthy. I haven't been healthy for weeks. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there in the East. And then I suppose the big talking point would be Giannis Antetokounmpo and what happened with him today. Monks, if you wouldn't mind just what you had in JoJo's age. Is he 26, 27?
28.
Yeah, so because he's been pretty injury...
Turning 29.
Yeah, he had a rough
pretty,
start to his
pretty
career.
injury-plagued as well. And if it wasn't for Nikola Jokic, he might be a 2-time MVP. Let's talk about these Bucks. They're on a 12-game win streak. They had this unreal overtime win against the Celtics, which is maybe the Eastern Conference finals. Drew Holiday goes out and puts up 40, 8 from 12 three-pointers. Took him for over 3 today in my multi. He got 2. That's punting, isn't it? He had this.
Is that the one leg you missed as well?
Of course it was. We didn't talk about my Super Bowl multi. Missed by 4 yards, but that's okay. Maybe you just need to get more steady, legitimate income, and then enjoy sport without having your heart in your mouth.
Yeah.
Gamble responsibly, listeners. So my question was going to be: are the Bucks the best team in the East? But I think the Greek Freak being out for 4 to 6 weeks changes that.
Yeah, well, they do play great team basketball, of course. Famously having him as the one big star in their him. Yes,
Him.
he is him in their team. So what they can do with him out for 6 weeks, which is going to be a fair few matches. If they go 500, I think they'd be very happy with that.
I think they can do better than 500. I think the rest of their team steps up. They showed that after Giannis went out today. It may also not be that long, so his X-rays came back clear. So there's a lot of sort of
ligaments and structural damage that could have occurred without actually breaking his wrist.
Plus, you forget he's the freak. So.
He's a freak, and there's close to a week All-Star break now.
Yep.
So he might miss sort of in the realm of 6 to 8 games.
And I think they'll be fine. Even if they drop most of those, they still played very well up to this point, so they can, maybe they drop down a 4th or 5th, but can probably recover from that quite easily.
I'd say so. They'll still get that, the home court advantage come playoffs. So I think they'll be able to deal with this injury. Mm-hmm. The Celtics will be licking their lips.
Yep.
The Cavs have added NBA, not quite journeyman, but a lot of experience in Danny Green. I actually didn't realise that he was still in the league. He was on the Grizzlies for the last sort of 18 months, barely played, hasn't been the same since he did his ACL with the 76ers, but, a bit of veteran presence, has won 3 rings with the San Antonio Spurs even. And they're looking like they might buy out Kevin Love's contract, which would be essentially a 10-year goodbye.
Yes. I don't think the words might. I think they will, and it's, end of Love and in Cleveland.
Apparently the Miami Heat are interested. We'll see how that unfolds. Let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, we are a podcast based down under, so always have a little bit of a vested interest in the Brooklyn Nets. Ben Simmons is unsure on his future. His minutes are down. His contributions are down after having that sick December.
Yeah, well, without the other two kind of supporting him and hiding his deficiencies, now they can't really find a role for him to contribute in the team. So he's, like you said, he's a role player off the bench playing low minutes. So, it's, again, a bit of fall from grace. I don't know. Is there a position for him in the NBA? In the NBA where he can play defense and dish the ball?
I feel like that's always been his role, but you need to have that supporting cast around you.
Well, I think if you're in a starting 5, you got to put up some points is the question, and he just doesn't put up enough, or doesn't take the chances that he has. So.
Unlike Mikal Bridges, who goes out and scores 45 yesterday against the Heat, his career high. Granted, there's guys like Booker and CP3 and DeAndre Ayton at the Suns who need to be the bulk of the scoring, but he goes out and smacks his old career high by 11 points. They might have to build their team, their franchise, around Mikal Bridges, Cam Thomas, and Nick Claxton moving forward.
Yep, and they've got all the second-round draft picks in the world, so
hopefully one
of them sticks. Yeah,
hopefully one sticks.
Yeah, and if they could, they probably would move Ben Simmons in the future.
We'll keep an eye on what happens there in Brooklyn. Patty Mills has another year on his contract. It seems like he's sort of getting moved out of the building there in Brooklyn. I think
they're going young. Like you said, they're
rebuilding. I think they get jumped this season as well by the Knicks and Heat, who only sit a game behind. Jalen Brunson is doing a bit for the Knicks. We've spoken about the Heat all year. They just need to get healthy, and that it seems like they're going in that direction. So I think Jimmy Buckets and co get that climb, and I think both of these teams finish above the Nets. And I think the Nets go one and done when it comes to playoffs time.
Yeah, I agree. They'll be in the 10. Don't see them going very far.
The Hawks, they're there or thereabouts for playing there in 8th. They had a 282-point game without overtime against the Hornets. So normally the line's about 220.
No defense.
So that might be a preview for the All-Star game that we're about to see on Sunday. That's a fair few points. The Raptors traded for Jakob Poeltl from the Spurs, who's showing some instant impact. The Wizards and then the Bulls sit there in 11th. The Bulls, they're on a 5-game losing streak, and they just, on paper, they should be better than they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
goes into the Pacers, Magic, Hornets, and Pistons.
Who's on the 10-game losing streak at the moment?
That is the Spurs, who are on 14 games.
Wow. That's crazy.
Jeez.
Leads us into the West.
Yeah, go into the West.
The Nugs still sit well ahead in first place. How about if the Joker gets a triple-double, which he tends to do fairly often, 25 straight wins.
Yeah, which is kind of impressive considering, the chat about the triple-double being a fake stat. But if you get triple-doubles and winning, in the case of the Joker, then it's, you can show that he's adding into that team and they're pushing their way up. And
I don't want to hate on Russ too much, but maybe that was like some of those Russ triple-doubles when it would be like 12, 10, and 10.
Yeah.
But if it's like consistently like 30, 16, and 12, like surely you're going to win some games, and that's what the stats show. That's actually, I know, again, a bit of a fake stat, but that breaks Magic Johnson's record for wins when you have a triple-double. That's a 40-year-old record.
Yep.
The Grizz, we need to talk about Jaren Jackson. He's going to be in the All-Stars game, and he might be the defensive player of the year. I think he's into about $1.60. The bloke's averaging 3.3 blocks a game, which is unprecedented. And nice to see a bit of supporting cast there around Jar and Desmond Bain and the like. I suppose the knock on them is, can they do it when it comes deep playoffs time?
Because you'd probably say in the West, the Nuggets are so far ahead of everyone else.
They're going to finish first.
Yeah, easily finish first.
Yep.
But they all also have a significant lead over everyone else, just showing that they're playing really good basketball at the moment.
Then it sort of tightens up a little bit through like 3, 4, 5, 6.
All the way to 13, bro.
That is true. That is
5
true.
games between 3 and 13.
How good. The West is wide open. The Kings, we keep knocking on them, but they're still there. The Suns, KD hasn't made his debut yet. It's obviously going to be well after All-Star break, but
when he does,
how do they go with one of the best players in the NBA? Complimenting Devin Booker, CP3, DeAndre Ayton, and the like. I think we spoke about it last week, but it's kind of chips on the table time for the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, they've gone all in this year, and they've got the talent to be able to do it. Another team like that, the Mavs.
The Mavs, they actually haven't won.
Have they played together yet?
Yeah, I think they've played.
Because I saw that game yesterday where Luka played, but
Kyrie
didn't. Yeah,
I think they have played 2 or 3 games together, and they haven't won.
Interesting.
And Christian Wood does his bit as a big, but are they missing that 4 or 5 positions that can get the job done? I think they played a game where both Kyrie and Luka had over 30. Christian Wood had over 20, and then the bench / the other 2 starters contributed like 16. Like, this is like big 3 kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, they have to perform, and if they don't, the Mavs are in trouble.
Yes. Pels were the next. Warriors, they're still there floating at 500. How are they doing for injuries? I feel like, did Clay get injured again?
And when Steph going to be back? Yeah. It's kind of my concern, I suppose, around the Warriors. Everyone's expected them to, when everyone's healthy, they're going to shoot up the standings. But, we're in February now, and there's only a few months to go. You wouldn't want to risk, play in. So can they jump up to 6th and assure their spot? They're only 2 games behind. That's the thing.
Yeah,
that's how tight the West is in the middle at the moment.
Yeah, they'll be happy to be at 500 at average there, considering where the team's kind of been up and down with availability. So, like we said, if they can get healthy, make a run, kind of like the Heat were doing with Jimmy Buckets back, then maybe they could skip a few of those guys and be up there competing with the Suns.
Then you're going to go into Thunder, who are probably playing a little bit overs, Jazz, who have gone the other way, and the Blazers. You have to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers. 27-32. It's Lions, obviously, through Spurs, who are on that 14-game losing streak, and Rockets. So 13 teams left that could still play in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Is that your question? Are they back? Are they good?
Well, I saw that game, their last game, where I think AD, Russell, and LeBron all scored 20, and they won. And whether
Russell out of the building now.
Oh, he's gone, is he?
Oh, D'Angelo
Russell. Yes, sorry, the other Russell.
Different.
I said his last name.
that wouldn't be like you, would it?
Yeah. That's an easy one to say. But that, as in, my point being, is that the new Lakers look? Will that work? Are they back? Can they use that and make a run?
No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. I don't see this team with LeBron on ice after the scoring record. I don't see. Well, maybe All-Star break he'll be back, but outside of LeBron and AD, they're just not good.
True. I was just wondering if Russell kind of fits in there now as new young blood. Will that give them a bit of extra enthusiasm, shot in the arm kind of thing, and they can maybe make a late run here to make it into the 10?
Yeah, make a late run to finish 10th and not go anywhere. I think that's where the Lakers are at the moment.
Yeah. Fair enough. And Spurs suck. Their 14-game losing streak what's the longest losing streak in the NBA?
I reckon it's fucking
long.
A lot. Like, I want to go over 30, maybe.
50s or too far?
No, I don't reckon that many.
You're right on the number by looking at that. If that stat is correct, 28 straight games.
28 straight.
It's from
Philadelphia 76ers.
It's not. It's 2014, 2015. So I thought that would have been an old kind of record.
Back when Wilt Chamberlain was killing dudes left, front, centre.
He played the same team 28 times.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are actually pretty recent.
Give us a quick run to the top 5.
Yeah, so Philadelphia Eagles had their 28 losing... Yeah, Eagles 76ers.
Well, actually...
had their losing streak,
Make a great point there. Philadelphia lost the World Series. They lost the soccer MLS final, and they lost this. It's not the top 4, but it's probably 5.
It's 5.
And then they just lost the Super Bowl, of course. Probably doesn't bode well for 76ers if they do make the final.
Curse. So their losing streak of 28 spanned over 2 seasons. After that, it's tied at 26. Cleveland Cavaliers back in the 2011 season. And then Philadelphia 76ers.
Is that the year after LeBron left? I feel like it is.
2011.
He went to
probably
went to the Heat and they sucked.
Yeah. I think I'm taking my talents to South Beach kind of era.
Yeah.
Philadelphia 76ers again in the 2014 season, so the
season
before. 26 in a row. That 2013 through the 2016 sort of period for 76ers is not great.
Few stank ass teams.
Yeah.
Well, they're halfway there.
That's probably what led into Embiid getting picked for them and joining that team, because that kind of fits with how long he's been in the league.
Joe.
Yes. Well, they're, like I said, halfway there. They stinky.
Very bad. Playing for draft picks. Playing for Wembanyama.
Before we get into the soccer update on the cricket, we have made the mythical 250. Hanscom just got caught out as well, but Daddy Jadeja bowled a no ball.
How good's that? Spinners bowling no balls. I saw during the week that Nathan Lyon has never bowled a no ball in his Test cricket.
His legs aren't long enough, bro.
How good's that? He's bowled 30,000 balls and he's never overstepped. I think Todd Murphy bowled 3 on debut or something. Nerves, they'll get
Bit
you.
excited.
Excited to see Todd Murphy bowl.
Let's see if Footbrush. Well, see if we can stay there. And Footbrush
if he can, it can manipulate the strike and get to the mythical 300, of which Hanscom scores 28. Fuck, what a first innings!
Is that it? Just keep on playing sensibly. Just try and get to 300.
Yep. Well,
Kuhneman's
got the weight of the world on his shoulders here, and Hanscom's just got to sort of manipulate the strike and try to keep seeing the majority of the rocks. But look, 262 is not a world-beating score, but if you gave that to me at the start of day's play, given what happened in Nagpur, I'd probably take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Definitely a solid.
Definitely.
Let's roll into Ronaldo. Look, there hasn't been heaps of action since our last show on Sunday, but per capita, some important games have happened. United play Leeds. They get the 2-0 win. They make amends essentially for dropping 2 points at Old Trafford last week. Marcus Rashford continues his scoring ways. And there's an 18-year-old, Alejandro Garancho. I think he is Argentinian. Seems to be doing a bit for United and United fans. And people that aren't doing a bit for United fans is Man City fans who are starting to chirp unbelievably in the last week after getting that win against Villa. And then the biggest sort of talking point of the week in the EPL was that win against Gunners this morning, 3-1. They jump into first. Arsenal has essentially capitulated in the last 4 games.
Yep.
Erling Haaland gets his first goal in his last 4 games. He goes to 26, still on track to be breaking some records. There was also a Merseyside derby between Liverpool and Everton. Everton really have their backs up against the wall now. They've got to play Leeds and Southampton, who are also in relegation danger in the coming weeks. So it's going to be a testing time for them.
Do you have the table there for us, Jimmy?
I can bring that up while I do. Alejandro is Spanish.
Alejandro in Spanish. They speak Spanish in Argentina. Argentina speak Spain.
Makes sense.
Leo Messi, born in Argentina, raised in Spain. Okay. There's a little bit of Alan from Hangover doing the maths in his head just then.
So was that loss, draw, loss for Arsenal to really score 1 point, and City have 1-1 loss for them to leapfrog them there, though Arsenal have a game in hand.
A game in hand, yep. That is the big caveat. So for now, City sits at the top of the league, but Arsenal have that game in hand.
United still within a shout there as well.
I'm not banking my eggs, if that's a saying, for United to be winning the league. Champions League, though, could be on. Let's go. Play Barcelona this week in the Champions League. Not the Champions League. Champions League Div 2, sorry. The Europa League. It was 2 apiece. That race for 4th is really looking interesting with Newcastle, Spurs, Brighton. Could you imagine Brighton?
Fulham,
or Brentford
there.
Playing Champions League?
Just not
you'd love to see
Liverpool.
it.
Just not Liverpool and Chelsea.
Yeah, line through them.
How's
I'd like to see Liverpool. But.
Yeah. How's the bottom looking?
Everton in danger.
How much in danger are they? Well, that Leeds are even as well.
Yep. And much like the NBA, when we're talking about the West, it's not much really between it from say West Ham in 16th down to Southampton there in last.
Yeah, very close.
The Champions League round of 16, we haven't had Champions League for a while. Is underway. PSG go down to Bayern. There's some Neymar rumours. Is it Chelsea that are throwing their hats in?
Yes. I saw it was trade rumours. I think Neymar and his agent had met with some Chelsea bigwigs over the recent week for a potential move. Neymar to Chelsea, into the Premier League. Nothing official, and I think it was more just seeing it kind of bouncing around here and there, but watch this space. Which would be a big loss for PSG.
Well, bloody oath, but I think
break up the big 3 though.
Well, something's got to give in that big 3.
Yeah,
because they'll win Ligue 1 with their pants down essentially. But how far can they go in Champions League? That's the big question, I suppose.
So where are we in Champions League?
Milan beat Spurs. They're in the San Siro. I think they've got to go back to London to have that away leg. Borussia Dortmund beat Chelsea 1-0. I think I sent you guys the pre-game.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe bucket list. I know this bucket list continues to grow. But the old Signal Iduna Park there in Dortmund, it seems like it's one of the best atmospheres to watch football in the world. And then Club Brugge and Benfica do battle in Belgium. Benfica getting the win there.
And there's 4 games on the weekend as well.
I think it's during the week. Next week, it's Liverpool and Real, Frankfurt and Napoli, Inter and Porto, and what's the last one there, Monks, if you wouldn't mind scrolling down? Did I miss one? Liverpool, Real, Frankfurt, Napoli, Inter and Porto, Leipzig and Man City. Let's go, Red Bulls. That was my 2 cents right there.
Before we get into that, last week it fallen for the Aussies 268 or 269, I think. Actually, Mickey just sent it to me. 263 lead for the Australians. Kuhnemann got out, unfortunately. Hanscom leaves not out. It's interesting. It looks like they're going to change over and the Aussies will come out and bowl a bit. But I was thinking at the time they might have actually called it there at stumps. But
we've got 15 minutes, don't we?
15 minutes, yeah. I guess they're going to play the 15. Well, there's usually 15 minutes and a changeover. That's why I thought
10. I thought it is.
Yeah, so 5 minutes we might get 2 overs. Is that what you're getting?
I don't know. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, so we might get a couple overs. Cummins and probably Nathan Lyon to kick us off. We'll see what happens. Wasn't the greatest ball for Kuhnemann there. He just played all around it essentially, and it wasn't off. Was it off stump? No, his leg stump. Leg stump took the top of it.
How about Pete Hanscom as well? Really solidifying his place for subcontinent cricket and really in a difficult situation going out there and getting us through to that score that we've been after.
Interesting. The fast bowlers had a pretty good run in this.
Mo Shami
got 4.
Yeah, some of those seeds that he was bowling early on just about unplayable.
Let's see what Cummins can do with the new ball.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Imagine if we had 2 quicks.
Yeah, that's the question. We're probably hoping we were batting in a day too, but
oh, jeez.
Yeah, unlucky there for Kuhnemann.
The smog 72 not for Pete Hanscom there. It's nice to see after that time in the wilderness for him to come back and score some runs. Mo Shami, the best of the bowlers, with 4 for 60. And then the Ravis in Ashwin and Jadeja, 3 for not many between the 2 of them.
What do you think of the score, 263?
I'd say it's still just below par. I think it keeps us competitive.
Serviceable.
Yeah. Would have loved 300.
Yeah.
Batting first.
Yeah, I think 300 would have been par. 260 is, like you said, playable, serviceable. We can hopefully make something happen with that. We need to probably start fast here.
Have to get Sharma the way that he's been playing.
Yeah, if we can get Rohit here tonight, that would be elite.
But then you go into a few blokes that have got the pressure cooking on them in Rahul. Pujara, not so much, 100th test, but Rahul, Kohli, Shreyas Iyer, and Bharat, there's a few guys there that are vets and haven't scored runs for a while, and then you've got, essentially a rookie keeper. So don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Obviously, we're in their house, we're in their backyard, but look, if we can get Sharma early...
Well, that was a core difference in the first test where they got 400, where Sharma got a big score and then we couldn't get rid of the tail. So we could get through their middle order. So let's hope for more of the same. Get Sharma early and then hopefully we can get down into those Ravis, as you mentioned, and get them out.
We shall discuss on the next podcast, probably next Friday, here on the Esky. That does lead us to the final round. It should be a bit of a shorter one, but we still have some talking points. The UFC 284 aftermath.
Fallout, yeah.
Yeah, a bit of Fallout. It's a video game, isn't it? Fallout 4? I don't know.
There's plenty of Fallout games, but continue.
I normally just played the sports games and then really struggled to sleep when I was playing them late at night. Don't know why. Joe Rogan of biggest podcast in the world fame said that I think the word robbed got thrown out.
Yeah, well, his reactions, because he did a fight companion with Sharb and the whole crew essentially, and they were all up in arms. They all thought Volk had won. They felt that he'd done enough and he competed through that fight. I think this fight should hopefully start a healthy discussion about scoring, is the way I feel in this. And I still stand by what we said in the last potty, that it was probably 2 rounds apiece. And then how did he score round 4? Yep. And the more I thought about it, the more I would think about how would you take into account, because I score each round individually, but in the story of the fight, you could see in round 3 towards the end, Volk was, we talked about momentum earlier, starting to ascend, get the momentum in that fight. And Islam had the perfect game plan where he, let's stifle Volk, let's take him down. I'm getting tired. Let's try to relax a little bit. And then, of course, he gets the takedown and holds on for 4 minutes. And yes, he has the better position, but he doesn't improve it. And yes, Volk does nothing and can't escape that position, and we get nothing for 4 minutes. But if you understand that in the context of that's not Islam being aggressive, that's him surviving, do you look at that round differently? And I think you probably do a little bit. Personally, I thought maybe, yes, you let the grapplers cook a little bit, but after seeing, for me, if I'd seen 3 minutes of that, if I'm Mark Goddard watching that, and neither guy's approved position, they're throwing just rabbit punches and nothing's happening, at that point I probably would have stood him up and see what differently. Again, if I understood that, yes, Islam's actually holding on and surviving here, he's not actually trying to advance position and be aggressive, maybe that then puts into my thinking of maybe we should stand this up and keep it moving because they're at a stalemate. And you could see the reason why if you look at round 5 and then how Volk kind of took that over. You could see if he'd done that in round 4, very different fight. He wins those back 3 rounds and he's the double champ at this point. So I still maintain it was a razor close decision.
Yep, I agree.
The fact I probably would have back to that on that point of one wasn't being aggressive moving position, the other one couldn't escape the position. To me, it's a nothing round. I would have happily scored it 9-9, and then you get a draw. And then you had those conversations where now you got more draws in such. So that's why I think this fight should start a healthy conversation about how do we score in mixed martial arts.
Because I don't think he's going to start it. I think that's been ongoing for some time.
True, but maybe kick it in the bum and get it out there that something needs to happen. Because a lot of people think the judges got it wrong. What's the total strike numbers there? Who's
164 to Volk, 95 to Islam, but then 4 takedowns to Islam to nothing for Volk.
But then also, what did Islam do with those takedowns? Was he just hanging on?
The damage.
And not doing much with it. So
you look at those fighters at the end of the fight and you tell me as a 12-year-old in the schoolyard
who won?
Who has won?
Yeah.
Volk is out there, he looks like he's ready to go again. Cardiovascularly, he's intact and he doesn't have a scratch on his face.
Yeah. Besides one scratch. He had the one cut with the elbow. But, yeah, besides that, you could see Islam looked like he had absorbed the most punishment. And he did. We got 164 total strikes. He had 70 significant strikes, which was more significant strikes than Islam, I think, had in to that point in his career. So, that's ridiculously impressive. So, not only did Volk kind of show that maybe Islam's no Khabib, but also that he's probably beatable.
Dude, he was so close to being beatable. So close.
Yeah.
And again, I know we're Aussies, and I'm not trying to sound too salty here. A lot of us did score at 3-2 Islam.
Well, officially they only had one knockdown there to Volk. I thought Islam maybe slips, but then, landed some good shots. But yeah, only the one knockdown, which would have been in round 5. Can you click on round 4 for me?
This is the contentious one.
1 takedown, sub attempts. Nothing significant, no knockdowns, no subs.
How's it strikes?
Total strikes, but like I said, that's like 40 odd rabbit punches from Volk. Going over, not really doing anything. Again,
Significant
it's
6-4.
it was a nothing round, so I don't know what you do with that. And
like we said last week, call it a draw and just have the 6th round.
yeah, or make it a draw for that fact is we can't split them. We need to do it again.
Speaking of, do you think they run this back, or what's going to happen? Volk goes back down and fights Yair?
I think Volk is number 1, including the UFC zone rankings.
Yeah, how does that work? Because I thought this was to settle the pound for pound, and Volkanovski is still pound for pound best fighter in the world.
Well, a lot of the rhetoric I've been seeing is, the judges didn't have the balls to do it, but the rankings dudes did, and they've, given the win to Volk. Essentially, it was like that. He was, he did go up, he did compete. He probably, lost on the slimmest of margins. Maybe should have won it. Ooh, Rohit Kops one in the ghoulies, by the looks of that.
Surav Ganguly.
Yes. The Volk was the better fighter. And that's why it shows.
And I suppose the thing with pound for pound as well, like even though Volk didn't win, he was coming up. He was fighting someone a lot heavier than him.
And his numbers backed it all up.
Oh, and he took him all the way through 5 rounds.
That's plum cherries, that one. Yeah. And I think that maybe what leads us to this rematch. As in, Islam, you weren't a clear winner in this. You didn't beat you were like, and if you get into Islam's mind of, UFC fighter as a competitor, is just like, I want to beat the pants off this guy, not have a close, what's that word? Dispute. I'll go with disputed. Decision. You didn't get the rankings. Like, it's all leaning against you. I need to go out there and prove, not just to me, but prove to everyone else that I am the better fighter and I can beat Volk. And that's kind of where I can see that narrative happening, and they will push for that rematch. Whether it happens first or whether Islam's got to go back and fight in the lightweight division and Volk's got Rodriguez to sort out, and take it from there.
Who gets Islam in the lightweight division?
Probably Dustin. Or maybe they might even push Darish. That might be interesting as another grappler.
Hasn't had a crack yet.
Hasn't had a crack. McGregor's just started filming with Chandler for The Ultimate Fighter, so I doubt the winner of that. They want to push that in. The winner would push that in.
Yeah, that'd be pretty shit, I reckon, for the other 15 ranked fighters.
Probably almost looking.
I don't think Gage's done enough
for that fight anyway.
I think Gage and Poirier had their shots. Maybe Darish makes the most sense. And that'd be an interesting matchup. It'd be a grappling heavy matchup, but it's still interesting. Yeah. Whereas Volk, probably no one else is there ready besides Rodriguez.
I think that's a fight.
Yeah.
I think, it's pretty conclusive that he goes back down, and like he's said that he'll go back down, defend, and then once he's got that sorted, then goes back up for that second fight.
Let's briefly talk some rugby league.
Did you want to cover the Dan Hooker?
Oh, yeah, we should.
So that's all part of the fallout, I guess.
Dan the Hangman Hooker had some scathing words to say, I suppose, about Islam and his preparation. There was some IVs involved. Sean, you probably know the rules and regulations around this better than we do.
Yeah, I'm trying to follow this story a little bit. So Dan, of course, is accusing Islam of taking an IV to help with his rehydration after his big weight cut, which it is a big weight cut for him, and he does struggle to get there. IVs, my understanding, under USADA are largely banned unless I think it's a medical physician says you need it to help recover, but you're only allowed 100 mils of saline in a 12-hour period.
Which is nothing.
So some people kind of were saying, that if you got the physician that allows you, they say, go for it, then, that allows you to get an IV. And then Islam's manager came out and said, it doesn't matter, you can do 2 to 3 litres. Which kind of maybe incriminates Islam a little bit. Like maybe, they did a fuckload of IV. The other fact is they hired a nurse, and you kind of pointed out that that's not really a physician. So not technically. So some of the conversation about that, it's probably won't amount to anything. It's we will see whether it does, but I doubt it. The other bit was IVs are actually illegal in Australia. Well, not illegal. They're banned as part of the Australian Commission. So this fight would have been fought under the Australian Commission being in Perth. So you're not actually allowed to take IVs. So he would have broken, at least he definitely would have broken, if he's had an IV, broken the Australian rules, which would probably mean that the Australian Commission would ban him for 12 months, maybe 2 years, which just means he can't fight in Australia in that time period.
Boo-hoo.
Yeah. Well, for him, he's like, boo, I'm probably never coming back. So, that's not really that much of a deal. So it's just whether UFC thinks it was significant enough, whether, that amount of extra fluids helped him recover enough, which maybe it did.
Well, it's also, so the IV in itself might be a little bit inconspicuous, the fact that it can be used to mask taking
which is the reason why
other drugs.
Which is the reason why they
probably where a lot
banned
of
it in the first place. Yeah,
speculation and I guess the rumor mill sort of creeps in.
I think
as well.
I think most of these guys probably would have cycled off anyway before they get into the weight cut.
Allegedly. John Jones says hi.
Yes.
That's not a legend.
No.
But for UFC, there's not a lot happening for the rest of this month and into middle of March, as well. Jessica Andrade is this weekend. That's probably the only big name fight until we get to UFC 285 with John Jones.
Saucy.
Yeah, and Kuderman getting the second over here for the Australians. So not Lyon and not Murphy. They've gone with Kuderman to get the second. And a bit of turn there, so that's good. Overs left today, 7. Ooh.
Plenty of time.
Yeah.
Must have been our time zone's no good.
Yeah, true. Well, that'll get us probably to 10:30.
Looks like it.
For us. All right, now you can do it. Now you can do your rugby league.
Fuck, that sounds weird in my ears. Just to wrap up, the rugby league season is almost amongst us. Yes, I think it's a Thursday a week. I think that's 13 days. Trials this weekend, of which the World Club Challenge will occur between Penrith and St Helens. It's meant to be very hot up there, so they've tried to push the kickoff time back a little bit. That probably plays into the Aussies' advantage, you'd think. Yeah. Charity Shield, Dragons. What's been said around us, maybe getting a spoon. Hopefully, it's not that bad. I suppose the big talking point is the negotiations between the Rugby League Players Association and the NRL. Still at a stalemate, it seems.
Yeah, do a quick Google there, Jimmy. I don't think there's been any progress this week. And like you said, if it's next Thursday, they've got a week to sort it out. Where potentially strike action may be what they do.
I feel like it happening.
Yeah, but if the players really want what they're after, well, here's the thing: if they don't, the rugby league's just called their bluff, and they'll do it forever for the future. Like you kind of paint yourself into a corner here, where you kind of have to go through with your threats if you want to be able to get anything that you're after. So. It'll be an interesting time for the game. Maybe a late start to the year if they don't get anything. Most likely, very rugby league, 11th hour, they'll sign it on Wednesday night at 12 p.m. and then we'll be good to go.
Kevy Walters has been offered a contract extension. Have you seen this? However, it's written into it that Brisbane can terminate it at any time without having to pay out.
No guarantees, bro.
No guarantees to avoid a Anthony Seibold type situation. They've dealt with a little bit off the field in recent months. How do you think the Broncos, one of the premier teams in the NRL, are going to fare this year?
Well, there's been some chat that Benny Eichen as well may get the Queensland Rugby League CEO job as well, which he's currently he's not the CEO for Brisbane. He's their I guess VP of player management or some shit like that. But him and Kevy may be tired a little bit if he fucks off. maybe someone else comes in and they want to, make a change there for Walters. Yeah, it kind of really leaves and frees them up. They've got a pretty young roster that needs to, start turning in some results, being a premier club that is the Brisbane Broncos. And if not, then they may look to make a move. Don't think there's a lot of great options though as replacements.
No, it's not like anyone's banging down the door, is it?
No. You are right. Eels Melbourne Thursday, 2nd of March. So that's 2 weeks. Got a little bit of time.
Broncos start to the season's a bit of a hard one up against Penrith.
Yeah, you can't imagine they win down there.
No.
I think it does ease up a little bit after that. A lot of speculation around Mitch Moses. The Tigers want him back.
Cash
Maybe
money.
come back to the West Tigers. 5 years, 1.3 on the table. We're sort of having this chat in the groupie this week.
This week.
It
was this year. So
it
you're
was,
not
yeah.
exactly-
It wasn't what technically wrong. With not the most fitting word to describe the time frame under which that conversation happened. Does he take the money?
I think every football player of sports that plays especially a contact sport, it may become a question of legacy. If you think the Eels can win the comp, you haven't won a comp before, you probably stay at the Eels. If you don't think the Eels can win the comp, you think that maybe the Tigers are improving, they've added some pieces.
Good pieces. Let's not brush over that.
Yeah.
Their forward pack should be good.
Yeah.
Isaiah Papali'i, Api Coruscant, Dave Clemmer, Johnny Bateman.
And you're going to get paid $2 million more to go over there, then, you take cash money. It's, you got a short career. He's an ACL away from not being able to play again. That can definitely happen. You got to weigh that risks. And if you get more guarantees, it's probably the main thing, as we talked a second ago. Get more guarantees and more money, you take the money. Unless you think you can win the comp. If you think
Well, that's the counter argument. He was in a grand final last year. He played Origin last year. So how much does that extra little bit of cash to go back to where it all started play into that conversation?
It is a lot of extra little bit of cash.
Yeah.
It's almost half of the other deals offer.
Oh, it's not half. They offered him 1.1 over 4.
Yeah, it's 4.4 versus 6.5.
2 point. That's 2/3. Quick maths.
Yeah, it's close. It's a lot of extra money.
It's a lot of bones, isn't it?
Exactly. And this, again, his age, this is his big deal. You got to remember that, because usually your mid to late 20s, leading into your 30s, that's your prime and you get your big deal. So you got to cash. I say this for NFL guys, you have to cash in now, because once you hit your 30s, you're most likely not going to get the same size deal as you are now.
Yep.
So, again, that kind of leads me to more towards cash in.
Take the money.
But like I said, if you think the Eels can win the comp next year, maybe you stay. Maybe you ask for a short deal. Or if you maybe you ask for a 2-year deal and then you wait to see what the CBA negotiations end up being, and then you reevaluate.
Game by game, it seems, at the moment.
Yeah.
Just a few big injuries. Xavier Savage broke his jaw.
It's probably been the biggest disappointment of the trial so far, the amount of injuries. We've only got 3 listed here. There's been a lot more than that, unfortunately.
Big names are listed, but there's been heaps. Yeah. There's been heaps. Justin Olam broke his arm. He'll be gone for probably 6 weeks. Cam Munster's dealing with some osteitis pubis. I don't know.
The jaw for Savage, we mentioned, he's probably around 6 or 8.
8 weeks, it seems like. The Chemist Warehouse casualty ward, it looks full. It looks full.
Reece Walsh is there.
Considering the season hasn't
Should
even
be back
started.
Week one.
Yeah.
Who's the long one? Savage is the long one. Sam Hughes is not really that long. There's a few mid-seasons there. Edric Laird, 3 to 4. That's recurring. Keep going, Scott.
There's been a fair few long ones. Obviously,
there's been a few ACLs. Which is unfortunate.
And shout out to any of those blokes that are going to have to rehab them. Tommy Turbo, a lot has been spoken about his hamstrings. Will they hold up this season? Time will tell. As a Dragons fan, I hope not. As a Blues fan, I hope they do. So I'm in between a rock and a hard place there.
Will we do a bit of...
Pappy Is
Puppy's but he's still recovering from all the various things, which has been unfortunate. And that's probably rugby league. I think we'll
preview next week. I think we have to preview it next week, and then maybe the
Dragons
Aussie rules probably 2 weeks after.
Yep, agree.
Thank you to anyone that has listened to the pod live. We appreciate the comments. If you're listening to us during the week, hopefully Australia has leveled up the series and won a piece on the back of a Matt Kuhneman 7 for 7. Thank you for
7 for 7's pretty good.
Yeah, that's, off the top of the dome. Thank you to anyone that has listened. We appreciate the support. We'll catch you upcoming on Friday nights.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Bye.